Captive Trickster by DyannaRoseJill. Prologue. It was such a small thing, a small box that had given a necromancer the power to keep the loose confederation of mages on edge for the better part of a year. A small box. That was the only thing protecting them from utter chaos. They had expected it to be a bit more flashy, given the nature of the warlock that it was taken from. Somehow, the late but not lamented necromancer had successfully bound an ancient spirit to do his bidding. Much like a djinn of Eastern folklore, the spirit had no choice but to carry on the commands of the one who possessed the box. The spirit made it abundantly clear that when freed, he would not be returning to the plane that he had been summoned from. It was half a desire for revenge upon the world that was the home of the puny creature that had dared imprison him. But in this new realm, provided that no one was trying to bind him, he was unchallenged. It was a new world to explore, a new place to play. It was frustrating to still be bound, but it was better than before. At least these creatures weren't trying to command him. He was sure that he could work out a way to free himself, given enough time. A reluctant guardian. They finally ended up drawing lots as who would be responsible for guarding the trickster.
And so I draw the short straw. I suspect there are rules, warnings, further information than what I have.
Lady Sygin, academic sorceress first class, pursed her lips as she regarded her companions. All of the grimoires that have been confiscated from the warlock stronghold are yours. Hopefully some of that will be of help, one of your companions offered.
That'll have to do. At least my workroom is already heavily warded,
she said in a resigned tone. Good luck, my lady.
I have a feeling I shall need it,
she replied, placing the box in her bag and bidding the others farewell. She headed home, and upon entering her workroom, she placed the box on the table and regarded it. Sygin wasn't entirely sure that her wards were strong enough to confine a demigod, so she would have to rely on the bonds that the warlock had created. Still, leaving him confined in that box would just serve to anger him further, and it struck the sorceress as rather inhumane. After checking once again that the wards on the house and the wards in the workroom were secure, she steeled herself and opened the lid of the box. A cold blast of wind rushed out of the box, tearing at her hair and catching up the papers on the desk. It rushed around the room before resolving itself into a very tall, dark-haired man dressed in dark green. He regarded her with an unreadable expression. Trapped in the box, as he had been unable to sense anything of the outside world. This woman was new. He had no information about her. He kept his expression blank as his thoughts raced. What did she know about him? What did she want? She didn't carry herself as a warrior. He sensed magic about her, so she was a mage. She was probably his new master, but there was a softer aura about her. He could work with this. His face softened as he regarded her.
Oh, now who are you?
His cultured voice was smooth and melodic, and almost friendly.
I am the Lady Sygin,
she replied, calmly straightening out the papers that had been disturbed.
A pleasure to meet you.
He inclined his head in a suggestion of a bow. She acknowledged his bow with a slight inclination of the head.
Likewise. And you're the Trickster.
I am.
Not one to beat around the bush, Sygin cut straight to the point.
As I'm sure you are aware, the warlock foolish enough to summon and confine you has been dealt with. As we do not have access to his workings, and you do not seem to be willing to leave, you are now under my care.
A smile crossed his face at that. His green eyes sparkled faintly.
Oh, I am certainly willing to leave.
Not back to your own realm, however.
Sygin was not easily charmed. She had dealt with otherworldly spirits before. Any demonstration of weakness now, and the trickster could rebel against her.
That is difficult to do. It'll take me some time.
Sygin made a sympathetic sound.
Perhaps that's something I can research.
You needn't trouble yourself. I can manage on my own.
Yes, and that's exactly the problem. Left to your own devices, you are unlikely to actually leave. And in the interim, you will cause a great deal of mischief. No, I think it best I research the most expedient way of returning you to your own realm.
His friendly smile faded, and the unreadable expression returned.
I see.
I'm glad you do.
She replied, just as expressionlessly. She took one of the books they had liberated from the wreck of the warlock's house from her bag and sat down at her desk. She picked up a pen to take notes.
What do you desire of me?
Nothing. I have research to do.
There must be something. Else, why let me out?
Why leave you there?
Point. I have not had a good past few months.
I imagine it has been most trying. So I feel the sooner I begin this research, the better. I ask nothing of you but for you to leave me to work.
She looked up at him, steel in her eyes.
I forewarn you, this room is heavily warded. I do not suggest you attempt to leave.
I wouldn't dream of it.
He responded with a curtly bow.
Very well then.
Sygin fell silent and returned her attention to trying to decipher the warlock's atrocious penmanship. Sometimes, she thought that those who went to the Black worked long and hard on developing unreadable handwriting.